GBV has become a norm, which shouldn't be the case. I have been a victim, but today I choose to speak out for myself and for other women out there. Let us raise our voice against GBV, and we can fight it together.
What would you do if your future depended on a yes to something that felt wrong? They say education is the key to success, but what happens when someone tries to use that key to unlock your dignity instead? That's the uncomfortable reality we are talking about today, sextortion. It is real, it is happening, and for many students in post-secondary schools, it's the silent threat hiding in plain sight. Welcome to the Raised Voices podcast. We are unpacking what sextortion actually looks like, why we must talk about it, and how to take action, especially for the elders in our communities who have the power to help.
All right, good evening. It's good to have all of you. And my name is Elizabeth, and I'll be your moderator for this discussion. And we can also introduce ourselves.
My name is Tumbiko Ajarangria from the University of Lusaka.
I'm Aunt Christine. I'm an elder.
My name is Tulesha Mlovu. I'm an elder too.
My name is Blessings Malandu, and I'm a student from the University of Zambia. My name is Sumani Study, a student from the University of Zambia.
Okay, thank you so much. We are going to be together to discuss this topic on sextortion, post-secondary school students. So the show is for you as students to have a coded discussion with the elders, and we expect you to lead. I can already inform you that we are going to have a 45 minutes discussion. So feel free and interact with the elders because this is your show. So if you can already start by just explaining an overview of what you know about sextortion and sextortion in the sense post-secondary school. Anyone is free to start.
Okay, so sextortion, this is when someone is forced, coerced, or rather manipulated to engage or send explicit materials. Yeah. Okay, just to add on to what Sumidi has shared with us, I equally agree that sextortion involves a form of coercion where an individual is supposed to engage in very illicit activities in exchange for something. And in most cases, it involves so much exploitation to a point where the victim is left with little to no resources, because then it's like you start investing in the other person that's blackmailing you to do something, to engage in something, so that at the end of the day, they actually get so many things from you for their own benefit or interest. And this usually occurs in universities, where we have so many young ladies that are victims or fall prey to such activities because they lack so many things, which we might as well look at towards the end of our discussion.
Yeah, so basically, in simpler terms, sextortion is actually a form of gender-based violence. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to stress the same point that she stressed. For me, most importantly, I feel when we start to talk about sextortion, it's important that we view it as an act of gender-based violence, because then it should be given the same importance that physical violence is given. And also just to understand that sextortion really doesn't have an age range, because nowadays, even on social media, we see that there's a very diverse age range in which sextortion takes place. It's in adults and young people. So the most important part of the whole thing is just to identify that it's a form of gender-based violence, and it should be given the same importance that any other act of gender-based violence is given.
What I would also like to add is that sextortion has been there since time immemorial. In our times, obviously, we didn't call it sextortion. We didn't know what sextortion was. But post-secondary school, I remember when I finished my grade 12 in 1988, before you were even born, we used to take a gap year. We didn't go straight into university like you're doing now. We used to take a gap year. And I remember a bank manager from Zanaco then, who was actually an elder in our church, approached my parents to say that they had jobs going. They were going to employ, I don't know what position he told them, but I needed to take an application letter the following Monday. This was at church when he told them that. But when I went to take my application letter on a Monday, it wasn't about the job that he was calling me. He was calling me to offer me something else if I wanted that job. So it's always been there. It's just changing forms and terms.
I want to agree with all of you, and it's interesting that we're discussing post-secondary school sextortion. I think the reason why it's more rampant now is because of the social media tools that are available, the internet. So now it's even a fast business for some people. It's a way of life. But I also appreciate the fact that we may not have particular laws in our country as Zambia around sextortion, but there are avenues where you can seek redress, where you can get help. The institutions that will support you, such as Nyapachuma, and the mental health institutions, they are counselors, there's National Women Legal Aid Clinic, there's the Zambia Police Victim Support Unit, and there's also the counselors in your institutions. And all three of you who belong to Nyapachuma as an organization, you know that there are us, the elders in Nyapachuma, whom you can reach out to, and we can have a conversation and see how best we can support you through the process and how also we can bring the culprits to book.
Okay. It would be good too. You've heard the elders having shared some really experience that they come across, but you're also students at university.
Yeah.
Is it something you come across, your fellow students, that sextortion is existing?
I think I'm one of the victims for sextortion, though I didn't know that was sextortion, not until I was told. So it was last year when they were selecting positions. So I was also selected, and then they were like, for us to give you this position, you have to do this for us. And then that's when I called my sister. I'm like, Kish, these people are telling me to do this. What am I going to do? And then they were like, no, don't do it, or else if they continue, we're going to report them. So days passed, I just received a phone call. Then they were asking me about sextortion. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And then the person who called me started explaining what it actually was. And then that's when it clicked in my mind to say, I was once a victim. Yeah. But I really managed through her to overcome it. Yes.
Okay, so my personal experience with this agenda is I would really say I was a victim, but maybe almost a victim. I encountered a scenario where I was pushing for a particular event with an association of my school, the University of Zambia, and then it so happens that there was this gentleman that was running, or should I say, is still running an organization which is doing Verify. Wouldn't mention it, but the time we got to discuss some of the things we can do together, work together, and just implement certain projects, the first thing he told me was, yeah, I'd actually love that we engage in this particular project. But then with time, I was like, okay, I want to give you a certain position in my organization as you push for your agenda as an association as well. But before that, let me tell you a story. So that story he told me was around some sexual activities which didn't really sit well with me. So I actually thought to myself, if somebody can be ill-mannered, in the sense that the topic that he actually introduced to me is not something that was based on our business. So I thought to myself, if we were to proceed with this conversation, it was obviously going to land me in a certain, problem or challenge at the end of the day. So that's how I decided to refrain from wanting to work with him. And I'm actually grateful, because then I didn't know there was actually such a thing as sextortion, but then I knew what it looked like, just not the name. So then after talking and discussing sextortion and some of the causes and effects, I've come to realize that actually I was almost a victim of sextortion. And well, I'm just so grateful that I'm being enlightened, and I now understand what it looks like and ways to actually flee from it.
Well, this is interesting that all of us here, the elders and the students, there's an agreement to say sextortion does exist in higher learning institutions, that is post-secondary school. So, but then the question comes, why do you think it's important to discuss extortion, and why? Is it important that we should be discussing sextortion, and why?
So the first thing is just to break the ignorance around it. Like my colleagues have said, they went through the situation but really didn't have a name for it. And I feel once people are aware of something and put a name to it, they're able to identify it quicker. They're able to seek help quicker. So let's take, for instance, if it did actually further from just being told through word of mouth, and if it was a child that was in desperate need. For example, in universities, like they say, lifestyles and other things, I was in desperate need of money. If I'm not aware that this is wrong, if I'm not aware that this is exploiting me and I can actually go run somewhere, I'm going to take it as it's just another way of doing it. It's just a shorter method of doing it, and there's really nothing wrong. Especially when there's nothing attached to the perpetrator, like he's just a person doing something and there's no way I can report. So I feel like being knowledgeable of sextortion and talking about it will decrease many cases of sextortion and also protect many young children and young girls and boys, because it doesn't only happen to women. I had a friend, a guy, who was asked by a woman who was supposed to take an application for him for a scholarship in Russia. So she told him, no, I like you and stuff like that. You know me, I like younger guys and whatnot. So they engaged into a sexual relationship. But then when he was ready to leave, he told her, okay, it was fun while it lasted, but I have to go. And he said, I'm going to tell your mom, and you're not going to go. And imagine how it's going to look here abroad, and those people know that you and I were
One not.
Yeah. So if he had the knowledge at that point, because he had to continue until he couldn't anymore. He says, hey, I found a girl, what do I do about it? But if he knew from the start that it's wrong, yes, we might have had a sexual relationship, but you've got no right to hold that against me, then many young people, girls, boys, and even adults will be protected from saying.
Okay. Why shouldn't we discuss sextortion?
Okay, just to add on to what my colleague Adora has mentioned, discussing these issues in higher learning institutions where most of the times young ladies are the target and victims, I think it's important in the sense that once we continue discussing these issues, we're actually bringing some of the evil to light, and we're able to encourage, we're able to sensitize people around this particular agenda, tell them what it is, what it looks like, because I can tell from the dialogue that we had as Nyapachuma at the University of Zambia just a week ago, we had a certain play that was demonstrating what sextortion looks like. And for most people that were present on that particular day, specifically the students, they were quite, astonished. Most of them didn't really know what sextortion was about, not until the play was done. And then so in the play, we actually were the people in the play illustrated to us what sextortion looks like, how it happens, when it happens, and who it happens to. So the time they were doing that particular activity, we could tell from the audience that, well, there were certain people that were relating, except they were, giggling, they were laughing. Well, that can just be a defense mechanism to show, well, it could have happened to me or my neighbor, but, these things happen. So I think the more we talk about it, we're actually provoking our communities, our schools to, bring it to light and find ways to mitigate it and ways to just completely prevent or flee from it. And something as evil as that. Yes.
Yes, just to add on, so that a lot has been said. So talking about sextortion and raising awareness, first thing test, it will reduce the cases of sextortion. Imagine you educate the people. So if they're being threatened to engage as being involved in sextortion, they'll even know the steps to take.
Yep.
They'll even know the steps to take and what to report the same cases. So in such a way, because some people commit suicide because of sextortion, low self-esteem because of sextortion. So if we educate, we raise awareness, so these cases will reduce.
Well, I love that thought process because I think it's not just bring to light will reduce numbers and so on. Additionally, the perpetrators, when they are taken to the police and they are sentenced, will actually stop this vice. And I think that's the ultimate. I was speaking to somebody in the United States and they were telling me, I see so many stories in Zambia about these type of stories, extortion, and what has been happening in the recent past around children. And they were saying, you know what happened in the United States is when you commit such a crime, all your records will state your full names, your age, and that you are a convict, or that you are a rapist. So who wants their face and all that detail up there? Like the story she just shared about a whole elderly woman. Literally feeling so entitled to stop the progression of a young person to attain what she has attained simply because she has a key or is the door opener to the next level in their life. That's so wrong on many levels. I think what would be nice is write Christine Jones, age blah blah blah, rapist, sextortionist. There's no way I'm going to ever do it again. And trust me, the generations after me, because I'm their mother, I'm their aunt, I'm their cousin, I'm their sister, whatever relationship I have, I'm a colleague, they will never do it. Because they don't want their names up there.
So I think we should suggest that to authorities. Pretty effective.
It'd be nice. These are ongoing conversations, really.
Yeah. Interesting enough, even as you're coming to respond, it was mentioned sextortion was there then, and we have also gotten the confirmation that it still happened. Why isn't it even more important that we should be discussing it now? You could respond to that, and in addition to their...
Okay, so the one thing we all know about abusers is that abusers depend on secrecy. They thrive on secrecy. Once you keep their secrets, then they'll go on. But deep down, they are cowards. So once you talk about it, once you bring it to light, once you even suggest, and they want the whole world to see them as this good person, this nice person, this responsible human being. So once you start tainting their image, then they'll back off. They'll either look for another victim or else they'll stop completely. So it's important that you talk about it, you report it, you tell the whole world, you scream it from the rooftops that this person did this to me. And then, but you need to make sure that you're safe. I cannot emphasize enough your safety, because now it's getting more sophisticated. You know, once you start mentioning people's names, what's going to happen is these abusers now will not just do these acts. They will record you, and you know how technology is. They play around with your recordings, and you're the one who sounds like you're the one who was after them. But always make sure that there's a witness to whatever he says or whatever is going on, and always talk about it. Tell somebody about it, because that's the only way that you'll stop an abuser, because they really, really thrive on secrecy. Oh.
Okay, so we looked at why it is important, but I still needed to know this time we've had all these cases being explained to us, even more sophisticated. So you are just confirming it that it's important, that we need to even have a witness, make ourselves protected. And why we are, discussing sextortion is to raise awareness. And also reporting, like what has been mentioned by the elders. But then, is there anything you'd like to add? Otherwise, we can still pose more questions to the elders. You're privileged.
Okay, I can go first. So here's a scenario I'm presenting to the elders. I'm your child, and you send me to school, university. So while in university, I fall victim sextortion. And for some reason, perhaps because maybe the school authorities were not pleased with me and they sent me back home. What's the first thing you're going to tell me as your child? It be encouragement, or maybe regarding the perpetrator, or what's, because obviously you're my parent and you're having all these, mixed reactions. So what's the first thing you'd want me to know upon telling you my case?
Your experience. Okay, first of all, I think the first thing is to reassure you that it's not your fault, and that I believe your version of what happened, and then I'll take on the administration of that school, and I will take them far and wide, and I'll drag them. Imagine something happens. Yes, the problem with us parents is our first reaction is to shout. We want to tell you off, but we realize now that it doesn't work. Then the survivor, the victim, shuts down, and they won't answer your questions. They won't tell you what really happened. But if you believe them, if you draw them in, and if you show them that you believe them, you're on their side, and what happened is not their fault, because usually the other person, the perpetrator, is in a position of power. It's a power struggle. They know that they have something that you want, and they're going to use your vulnerability, in inverted commas, to take advantage of you. So I remember when it happened to me when I was talking about 1989, the man from Zanaco. My father wrote a letter to Zanaco. He wrote letters all over. And to that man, unfortunately, wasn't fired, but he was transferred. Even in church, they announced it, and he was dropped as an elder. So once you bring it to light, once something happens and children know that they are protected, they are believed, and they are cared for, then they'll come out more open, and it will be easier for us elders now to take action, because you on your own will not be able to fight the perpetrator.
Okay.
But I think she said it all, really. I think she said it all. The most important thing, like she said, of course, is assurance that you've got you. And not just we've got you verbally, but to get into the boxing ring and fight. Because sometimes as parents, I totally agree with her, we're coming from an era where our parents' things around sexuality, it was a secret. There's a lot of secrecy around it. And it would always be, we taught you better, or what do the neighbors think, what do the people at church. I think as the post generation of our parents, we are learning to embrace. We'll embrace you, we'll walk with you, we'll put you at our back and get into the ring and say, I will not rest until something is done, until justice happens. And that's the only language, sadly, people like to describe the perpetrators. That's the only language they understand. The minute you shroud it in secrecy, you're finished. And Zambia is a Christian nation. Even sin is shrouded in secrecy. And one of the things the devil enjoys is the fact that you keep something that is bothering you. It's giving you sleepless nights. You didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Like she said, you are a victim. Like you said, you're a victim. But the minute you keep it as a secret under the table, even the enemy will enjoy it, and he'll call his cousins. Whatever religion you belong to, he'll call his cousins who help him, whether they're also Satans, whether they're all demons, whatever religion you belong to, and whatever you call them, whatever spirits, they will multiply and compound the situation and push you to depression, push you to suicide, push you to these extremities, push you to unaliving yourself, as it's said now. So bring it out. Encourage your friends to bring it out. Talk it out. Find a safe space. I know there are parents who might still be old school. I have friends who are and really be old school. But there's always another parent. My children, I have dealt with so many similar issues, and also just abuse, sexual abuse by a parent. I have dealt with so many such cases because they don't feel safe to say to their mothers or their fathers that they felt they had a friend. Like you guys are friends. So you feel safe to say, you know what, my mother is a safe space. Come on. She'll get in the boxing ring and she's not shy. And the law in Zambia now is such that you help me from the veteran. Is now such that I can take someone to court on behalf of for a matter that I think it wasn't like that previously. It had to be you. But now you can report on, I can go and report on behalf of your mother might be scared, or for her marriage, for the relationships or whatever. I can take them on. So things are so much better now.
I like it that you're speaking on behalf of those parents that would be old school. On, some children, like she mentioned, would be coming from this, society where the mother might not even be exposed as much to take up such a challenging situation. And I think that's where we also need to go a step further to say, how can a parent respond? For some, they'll just reprimand. So is there anything you'd add for some are being looked after by grandmother? And when you get back to your grandmother, is not even exposed how it's your or such. But so unless you have something to add as elders.
Actually, I was coming to that point. Her case, the way you would handle it, it's not what like every parent would do. So it's just our humble appeal that even like parents, there's also a need in order for them to be educated. Educate them on what sextortion is, on what the children go through. Yes. Because not all the parents can handle the situation the way you handled it. Yeah.
And that's so true. Another thing which she did talk about what else as parents would do. I think one real thing is we are Africans. You need to own who we are. There are things we have done and have worked, and there are things we have done and they've not served us well. The secrecy, most of it has not served us well as Africans. However, being conservative, being decent, I know decent, someone else will say it's relative, but being decent helps. But when you show perpetrators, sadly, that what you're saying about sex and myself, I also take it as a joke. Because like she says, they come in a very sly way. They'll say it like a joke. They'll introduce something. You tolerate them sending you porn videos in the middle of the night. Put rules for yourself. Say, the male gender, so long as there's no relation between me and them, I won't get any messages beyond 21 p.m. Unless maybe it's specific school. Tomorrow the class has been moved to this or whatever. Or it's a relationship. Or it's your parent or somebody significant in your family. Just put rules. Oh, I have rules. There are messages I just don't. I'll open her list at 21. But I will not open for males beyond a certain time. Those are personal rules you need to put. Show up a certain way. You're going to get clarity from a lecturer, for instance, or for a fellow student, a male, about something you may not have understood. And you're dressed in a way that men who are very visual might compromise you. So what I'm saying is be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful. Not all men, not all your male friends will look at you in shorts and be moved. But there are those perverts. And over the years, second year, third year, you get to know that. So those are some of the safeguards you need to put for yourself. What you allow, the conversations you allow for your phone, for your socials, or what you get into, the conversations you choose to get into, be guarded, because some prey online. They prey on you online. And then the minute you succumb to something, they see, okay, this mind is prone to accepting this type of conversation.
Yeah.
They start, yes. They take you 100 steps further. Before you know it, you are neck deep. And now coming out of it, and worse still, that's even more complicated for a parent who is not exposed. Because how do you explain that a total stranger, you started talking, and then it became a relationship, and then you sent a lectures, or how do you explain that? It's very because even yourself, it will torture you. So I think that's how these things are just safeguards. We're not saying don't dress young, but we are saying be careful, because the world is so perverted today. It was a lot safer with us, but with you guys, it is very perverted. And worse still is someone can get a picture of you, distort it, and say it was you. Somebody can create a meme out of you, and the whole school knows before them. So, what is that? I think you also have responsibility. That's my word as an elder.
Yeah. And then also, and when we're talking sextortion here, we have a podcast. Not all parents know what we're talking about. Take it to church. Talk about it in EU church, in youth groups, in women's fellowship, in men's fellowship. So we need to take this message everywhere. The goodness about the church is that the church is everywhere. Even places where there are no NGOs, there is likely to be a church. There's likely to be a choir. There's likely to be, and even people who are listening to us right now, the people who are listening to us, some of them are the actual perpetrators. Yes. People who are listening to us, some of them are victims and are going through this even right now. So we take it to where the people are. Let's take it to the churches. Let's take it to youth groups. Let's take it to choirs. Let's take it to everywhere where there's a gathering where two or more are gathered. Yeah. Go and talk about it so that everybody hears, everybody understands, and everybody knows that this is what the youth are going through. These are the challenges. Have meetings between the youth and the women's group. Mm-hmm. The youth and the men's group talk about these things and just tell them what you're going through, how hard it is now to be in university, how hard it is, the things that you had to face when you're in university.
And additionally, this is part of the core of Nyapachuma, cross-generation conversations. So you want these conversations to become more and more. Everybody should hear, and you should be able to talk to somebody who's 10 years older and the other 10 years above that, and so on. That's when this message will spread wide. If we can speak to each other freely about matters of sexuality that have negatively affected me, because sexuality can be a positive thing, but this is negative, and often, sadly, it is sexuality, around sexuality. Yeah.
You have any question? Just coming back to sextortion, it being a form of gender-based violence, it also has its own forms, such as psychological, financial, and online sextortion. Now, coming back to online sextortion, I just want to get a clarification, or rather your views, what technology, a role that technology plays on sextortion. Yeah.
Okay.
But they can start in India.
What I just wanted to say is that for the youth these days, for students, you have so many role models. Everybody's a role model, including the internet. Those are what are bringing you up. You lock yourselves in your room and you're on your phones the whole time. You are on the internet. You have, you can do anything on the internet. So all those things are your role models. And sadly, we don't have the time to catch up to see how far you're going. So like she said, safety begins with you. You know the certain, you just Google an innocent word, you just put it on Google, and the things that come up, and you're like, really, is this what I made this? Is this what I'm looking for? And those are the things that are bringing you up. You're being brought up by the internet, you're being brought up by DSTV, you're being brought up by all these other things because somehow your parents, your elders have become the enemy. It's not cool to be close to your parents. It's not cool to be close to your elder sisters and elder brothers. So you'd rather trust strangers who you don't even know if they exist or not. And you trust them with everything that but you could be talking to real people. You could be sitting as a family and chatting about these things and hearing about them from a real point of view. Because once you go into the internet and talk about sextortion, first of all, they'll even laugh at you. There's nothing wrong with a lecturer or somebody doing that. Just do this, just say this. Yes, and beyond the money and run. The more secure the bag. Secure the bag. That's the. So the internet has not helped us as elders. It has not helped you as the youth as well. But I don't know what you think, how you think the internet is affecting you in this area.
I don't. Personally, I just feel like it's stressful that the data that I bought for myself, my own phone, is a place that's not safe anymore. And I feel internet, okay, this is going to be a big contribution because I'm young. But one thing I feel and that I constantly tell my age mates is the easiest way to get out of such situations is building a definition of yourself. Like actually building a purpose from yourself. Because I believe if you know what you actually stand for, or you actually have a drive, or you have a goal, even if somebody were to come into your DNA, I don't know if you know what that is, but even if somebody were to come here and making certain advancements, certain things just shouldn't move you as much as they do move us. Because I'll say personally, I started working on my social media presence as a mental health advocate because I realized many young people are on social media. And you find a random man, you can even tell that this man has been, creating generations for generations. And he'll come and say, I like your drive, I'm recently divorced, I've been going through mental health issues. I'm looking for you. I'm like, oh, it's not my business, but okay. Already, because I know for a fact that I'm this person. So even if I were to find a role model on social media that's a bit, controversial and stuff like that, I really should take a stand. Like I should know where I stand as a person. So one thing I'll just urge young people is find you. Personally, my identity is in Christ. I'm Christian. So for me, no matter how hard things got, believe me, temptation is left, right, and center. In university, there's always a new week, there's always new year, there's always this event, and I stay home and then I'm thinking, my parents know. And constantly, like even today I thought about it, like when I was coming here, and then they're looking at the time, I'm like, you see, this is why people leave. But even when that phase comes, if you really know what you built yourself on. I got here, my mom called me and said, I hope you're safe, and then turned to me, I was just overreacting. So to my fellow young people, build the foundation. 5 years from now, you want to look back and say, what was I known for? Because at the end of the day, we can't really run away from these things, whether we like it or not. As bad as it may sound, it will happen and it will follow you, unfortunately. People will know you for that one thing, mistake or not a mistake. The Bible is very clear when it says you reap what you sow. It doesn't mean just because, no, I moved from that, honestly speaking, it still stands, it's still there. Social media keeps. And what's Iris Kayongo? You see how far long was that? And then sometime last day, it was in Ripian. And then sometime last year, it's just from nowhere. Everybody's talking about it. Guess what? You're moving on, but that's how life works. The decisions you make are always going to affect the people you choose to follow on social media, are always going to affect a certain part of your life. So I just feel, guys, let's be mentally, sexually woke. Follow the right people. It's not cool to want to be part of the crowd. Yeah.
Blessings. It would be nice to know your thought. Still not that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Most of the pills have been talked about, and I think just like we mentioned, this safety that we're talking about, establishing safety as we interact with our peers or people on social media, I think it's important that we stay self-aware, because being self-aware allows you to understand your values as an individual. It allows you to understand what trends to follow, what trends not to follow, because social media as a platform, it's like, it's connecting every person, every Jim and Jack is on social media. So you don't want to expose yourself to activities that are going to land you into trouble. At the end of the day, sextortion can happen to anyone. Anyone can be a victim. And to prevent that, it's best that we stay self-aware, we stay woke, Adora's words, we stay woke, and so that we're able to, know what to entertain, what not to entertain. Like that, I think we're going to, utilize social media for better purposes.
And there's something I just wanted to add, which Adora has said, and I've heard you echo. Your digital footprint on social media, like Shell said, never goes away. And nowadays, because there's social media, even employers to all go through your social media. Who is this person? There's no way. I've heard of people who publicly insulted, for instance, a political system. And they are looking for the job is not even political, but this organization wants to be non-partisan. They just find that one comment and you're out. Some organizations, they just find nudity or any extreme on any subject, which you decide to air with people who don't care about you, who don't know you, and they don't even care to know you. It gets you fired, or it keeps you out of employment.
In schools, in certain universities, for master's program, they'll check your social media footprint and they'll know, and you're not going to go to those countries.
Yeah, just to kind of sum up everything. I love coaching my mom. I'll be doing this over. But those ones we're having a conversation. So I was telling her I want to update my phone because, come on, everybody's using an iPhone. That one for 3 plates at the back. And then she's like, you get tired. And I'm get tired of what? I'll change the phone. And she's like, and when you don't like that one, I tell you, I'll change it again. And she's like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Trends will be trends. Trends will come. There will be an iPhone 15 today. You will do something for it. There will be an iPhone 16 again. Are you going to do something for that again? And very soon, Apple is quick, sharp. There will be an iPhone 17. Are you going to keep up with the trends? So again, just to young people, trends will be trends. Trends will come. Trends will go. People can make you get a loan for a phone. And pinning me when that person is calling you to tell you my 5,000 kwacha, there'll be nowhere. They'll cheer you on for 2-3 days, take pictures using your phones, and after that they man disappear. So I feel the best way we can try to combat sextortion, especially speaking from the university point of view, is contentment. And I think we talked about this at the retreat. And it was one of the main points, being content with where you are, what you have, working with what you have. My mom likes to call life DIY. You know how you don't really need to get anything to create something new. With what you have, what can you bring out from there? So I think that's what I would like to stress as well.
More. Wow, very insightful. We are discussing sextortion post-secondary school among students. So we've heard a lot. We've looked at what it is, why, and elders have provided counsel, but we still need to learn from the elders. I'm sure you can guide the students how they can report sextortion. I know Auntie Christine had spoken about it, but please, you may echo. I can. Apart from the Zambia Police hotline, which is 9010, we also have a lifeline childline number on 933 and 116. Now, if you're going to report these cases within schools, there must be counselors. They will keep your identity secret. They're not going to tell the perpetrator that you are the one who reported. So it's a private matter,
Once you report it, they won't even ask your name. You can even just write station law if you want. If there's an intake form, you can write my name, and then they'll take it up. They'll do their own investigations and deal with it. Even when it comes to going to, supposing the matter does go to court, you and the perpetrator will not be in the same courtroom. You make your report, the police will pick it up, and it goes as far as court. You will not be seated in the same courtroom with the perpetrator. So you never have to face them. And also, once you report, like I said, whether it's the police, whether it's counselors, whether it's whoever is in charge, your name will never ever be revealed that you're the one who made that report.
Okay, that's great. We've heard for ourselves. Anything to add?
Apart from the ones that she's mentioned, the police, child lifeline, counselors in your learning institutions, even some of these churches are truly as safe spaces. What we are trying to say is don't die alone. Don't carry this heavy burden alone. There's institutions like this one where you belong to Nyapachuma. They are there for you. There's YWCA. There are so many institutions where you could go and they will help you out. National Legal Aid Clinic, yes, ma'am. Then you could go there and they're going to help you out. There are so many institutions, so many human beings out there who are ready to help. But help is only given when you ask for it. It's very difficult when you have not asked for help for somebody to come, because you'll be the same ones. I mean, we've also heard of cases where you change your mind. And now who looks like they are just a nuisance, a social nuisance. And which elder wants to be a social nuisance? So protect yourselves, protect one another, report to authorities. These numbers are working. Someone on the other side will pick it up. Or walk into any police station. There's victim support unit. And these police officers are trained for this type of case. So they know exactly how to speak to you.
Great. Don't die alone. Report sextortion. So we've heard from our elders, well articulated, and now I would like to ask if you have just anything you want to say before we close our discussion. If any one of you has something to say that you really wanted to say, wanted to speak to this.
Question. Yes. And so I feel like we touched it at the beginning, that the reaction from elders. For me, that's something that really sticks, And I'm glad I'm seated in a place with compassionate women, because then it feels like a spot. Because when I was coming here and I said, I'm really going to talk about this because maybe, but then, I'd be shocked to find that, actually have the generation ahead of us that thinks that way. So for me, I feel like she said, she called it a humble. You called it a humble? But yeah, what can you guys do to make sure that there's 1,000 women, mothers and fathers out there who carry the same mindset? Because believe me, 90%, if we're putting it in numbers, that's the only thing that will stop a child from trying to protect themselves. Because as much as I have mothers everywhere, because right now I feel like I'm seated with my mothers, but we have to admit that there's a child that knows one mother, the person that pays my school fees, the person that clothes me. And there are even some women that don't understand that you can file a complaint on my behalf. They'll say, so what's best way can you guys try and make sure that there's 1,000 more women out there that carry your mindset and that are trying to protect not only just kids from outside, but even the children in their households? Then I should be able to come and say, Mommy, look, I'm sorry, but I was talking to this man and took off my clothes and I took pictures and I sent to him. Straight point blank. I should not be, this, he wanted me, but then I wanted him back. Monday he promised me, but I should just be able to say, look, I have fallen short. I've either slept with this man or whatever it is. what's the best way you guys think you can go about it?
Like I said earlier, this is a conversation we're having amongst ourselves. We're talking about it everywhere. We're talking about it in churches. We're talking about it in every gathering where we are as women. This is what we're talking about. And I think people are getting, even as far as we've gone to, as far as Lusangazi, we've gone to as far as Nakonde, we've gone to as far as Lumezi, talking about this and telling parents, asking parents to be open, asking parents to be welcoming, asking parents to talk to their children and to listen, most importantly, to their children without judgment. It's one step at a time. It's one step at a time. But if we're talking to the Catholic Women's League, and this is the conversation, that's a huge, huge organization. Even if there are just 500 of them, and each one of them goes and talks to one other person, that's 500 more, and they also go and talk to one other person. So I think we're trying our best. We are out there, we are talking about it, and we want our children protected. And the best way we can protect you is if you tell us what your problems are. Our problems are old-fashioned. You guys are 10 steps ahead of us. By the time we catch up, you've gone again. So we need to know what you're dealing with them. Talk about it and find solutions.
Yeah, because like many other things where we don't open up, not because we're afraid, but because our own parents have not like told us what sextortion is.
They didn't know. Well, I'll say because in our times when it would happen to us, a child would be sent to university, yes, and they come back pregnant from the lecture. And the whole community would be saying, oh, when instead of coming a diploma, yeah. And they'd even be calling that child in the community, oh, you know that child? A car diploma, this is a child. So now we used to blame, or we used to get blamed in our time. We used to get blamed. Instead of blaming the older lecturer who should have known better, the woman is always the one who used to get blamed. But now we want to change the narrative. We want to say, no, that child was abused by an older person, so let's deal with the abuser.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much. Sextortion is real. And we've been encouraged to not die alone. And even to speak to post-secondary school, sextortion is real. To really understand how deep this goes, we took it to the streets. And we asked students from different institutions what they think or know about sextortion. And here's what they had to say. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gwen Wakalala, and I'm here to talk about sextortion. It's my understanding. So, from my basic understanding, sextortion is a form of manipulation that people use to extort or get videos or pictures or any form of explicit content from other people. Let's take for example, maybe I'm dating someone and they want to send for me a picture. So I'll be using that explicit picture that they send for me to manipulate them. If I want something from them, I just say, no, if you don't give me, I'm going to post it, I'm going to send it online and things like that. Yes, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Mercy Tukiana Mazawa, and I'm here to give you a basic understanding of what I think sextortion is. So sextortion is basically a form of blackmail that is given to a person in exchange of something that is not good. So when I say something that is not good, I'm talking about images that are supposed to be underneath there. I'm talking about pictures of your nudity. I'm talking about videos that are not supposed to be shared out there. So sextortion is simply somebody forcing you to send you that information so that they can put it out there in exchange of something that you need on there.
Hello, fellow citizens. For my name is Francis Toge. What coverage Ramzet study was a multiplication public to USA. Coming to the topic, sextortion. Sextortion, this can be online, blackmails or sharing of videos and photos that are explicit to harm someone's reputation. How do you come about this? This can be a threat to someone who is in or who is happening in a relationship and forcing the partner to share such videos that was not supposed to be shared. How do you avoid this? Is to be on your path and stop that sharing those videos, because those are illegal and they are not allowed according to the laws of the
Stop GBV, fight sextortion. Stop GBV, fight sex.
I say stop GBV and sextortion.
Stop GBV, fight sextortion.
Shanti.